renting, or buying. Look at the pictures and listen as I read the story. Jerry and Amy are from Congo. They have 5 children and came to America as refugees 5 years ago. When they first came, the agency settled them in an old townhouse in the city. They were thankful to have a house spacious enough for their large family. So many things were different from where they came from. In Africa, they stayed in a refugee camp and paid neither rent nor utility bills. In America, Jerry and Amy both had to get jobs. Neither of them had worked in a warehouse before. Life was hard. They didn't speak much English, and the kids struggled in school. They couldn't have made it through the first couple of years without the assistance of some kind volunteers from a nearby church. The volunteers helped them set up bank accounts and taught them how to pay their bills. They took them to English classes, got driving lessons for them, and helped them find a cheap first car. Slowly, Jerry and Amy adjusted to living in their new country. They practiced their English at work and at church. Last year they started thinking about moving. Their house was very old, and there was often something not working right. Although they set up mousetraps, there always seemed to be a few survivors. They started searching online for other houses. They could either buy or rent. Which option should they choose? Having their own house seemed like a great idea. They could do what they wanted with the house and wouldn't have to pay rent anymore. Also, it seemed difficult to find a house to rent that would be big enough for their family. They wanted to get out of the city and find a house in the suburbs. They started looking at houses online and found several that would be a good fit for their family. They went to a few open house showings. Jerry and Amy sought advice from their friends at church. Their friends said that the house prices and interest rate are high right now. They also talked about money for a down payment, property tax, house insurance, and maintenance costs. Jerry and Amy wouldn't be able to afford a new house, and with an older house, there would always be upkeep cost. Their friends estimated it would cost $8,000 a year for maintenance. Also, if they don't clean well and fix things right away, the cost might be much higher. Jerry and Amy felt overwhelmed by the responsibility of owning a home. They had very little savings so far. Also, their credit score was not very high, so they might not even be able to get a loan. Their friends agreed that it's a good idea to buy a house down the road. They suggested making a 5-year plan. Jerry and Amy would have to start budgeting their money, set aside savings from each paycheck, and think about ways to cut back on their expenses in order to save more money. Wow, buying a house is not as easy as we had thought. We have a lot to learn before we are ready to own a house, Jerry and Amy said to each other. They were so happy that they could ask for advice from people who had lived in America their whole lives. Jerry and Amy started looking online for rentals. They couldn't find any apartments big enough for their family, so they looked for houses. Location is very important. They wanted to be in a school district with better schools for their children. It took a while for Jerry and Amy to find a house to rent. Now, 2 years later, they are living in a house that is adequate. It has a yard and a patio, so they can be outside in the summer. The children are doing better in school. The older ones got after school jobs. Jerry and Amy are diligently saving money and hoping to be ready to have their own house in a few years.